Alright, David Harry here, and in this video I'm going to answer the question, can the Acasis TB504 do RAID 5? Well, the answer to the question is dead simple. Yes, it can, but of course you have to use the correct software in order to be able to do that. So what I'm going to do now is just to dive into this kind of like how to and test, where I'm going to show you the TB504 working with four 4TB Samsung 9100 Pro Gen5 NVMe's, and I'm going to be using OWC's SoftRAID in order to create the RAID 5 and then test the RAID 5. So let me get into this. Okay, so I'm into SoftRAID then, and as we can see down here, I'm just using the 30-day trial of SoftRAID Premium. Now the screen is kind of split into two sides, as it were. On the left hand side we can just see all of the attached storage devices which are connected to the computer, and obviously in this instance I'm using a Mac and it's an M4 Max MacBook Pro. So as we can see, there is the actual internal storage of the Mac, and then there are the four SSDs that are within inside of the TB504. Now if you have things such as SD cards attached or any other type of storage including hard drives and whatnot, they're all going to pop up on the left hand side here, and then on the right hand side this is going to show us all the volumes that are available across all of the attached storage devices, and in this instance the only one that it's seen at the moment is the Mac's internal storage. Okay, so what we first need to do is to initialize the drives. Now I've already got them initialized, but I'll just show you quickly how to do that. So we just select the drive like that, then we right click, then we can click on initialize, and I'll do that in a second. However, we can do multiple drives at the same time. So if you select the drive and you want to select a range of drives, just hold the shift key down on the keyboard and then that will select a range of drives. Or if you just want to select individual drives, just click on one, then hold down the command key, and then you can just like select whatever drives you want. Now in this instance, obviously I want to select all four of these, so I'm going to just tap on the top one, hold shift, and then tap on the bottom one, and that is all four of them selected. So what I'm going to do now is to just tap on initialize. I mean, these have already been initialized, but I'm just going to go through the process again. So initialize, then enter your password for your computer. Okay, and as we can see here, these are now going to start going off and initialize, and I'll leave this to do it in real time because it's only going to take about 10 seconds, and we should be there shortly. There we go. So we're now initialized. Now at this point as well, what we can also do is to certify the drives. So once again, we just select the drives that we want to certify, right click, and then tap on certify. Now I'm just going to allow this to do its base certification. So certify, and now what it's going to do is go away and it's going to do a very low level test of all the drives that you're telling it to certify. And basically what this is going to do is loads of like reading and writing and stuff to every sector of like the drives, in which case it's going to map out anything that's problematic and stuff, and then it can keep an eye on whatever's going on with those drives over time. However, as we can see here, this is saying it's going to take over 4 hours to do the certification, and don't forget this will be a lot longer if these were mechanical spinning disks or hard drives. Anyway, what I'm going to do here is just to select all of them and then hit cancel. Now if you do hit cancel and you decide to do it later, it will pick back up on wherever it was that you left off during the certification. I'm not going to do it right now, only because it's going to take absolutely forever. And now what I'm going to do is to reselect the drives again, and I'm going to reinitialize them, because I didn't realize that once you go into the certification mode, it obviously gets rid of the initialization as well. So there we go, I'm back onto initialization, which is only going to take like a few more seconds to do, and there we go. Okay, so what I'm now going to do is come up to the menu at the top, tap on volume, and then create new. And then once we are into the section for creating a new volume, as we can see across the top here, we've got the various types of volumes that we can create, or the various types of RAIDs, or the various types of ways of formatting the SSDs. Now also we've got here volume type, which does the same thing. So if we just tap into there, we can select whatever type of RAID or volume type that we want to create. So I'm just going to leave it on RAID 5 there. Now I'm also going to give this a meaningful name, so TB504 SoftRAID RAID 5, which is very descriptive. Now also what we can do here, although it's already selected them, at this point we select whatever drives we want within the type of volume that we're creating. So I'll just start that over. So I'm just going to tap on the top one, and then once again I'm just going to use the command key to add the rest of the SSDs here, so all 4 of them are going to be used. Now as far as the file system is concerned, I'm going to be using APFS. Now it says here optimized for. Now in here there are a number of different options. Now I'm not entirely sure what this does. I'm going to hazard a guess that this is going to affect sector sizes or something like that. However, because we're using SSDs, I doubt very much that any of these options are going to change like the performance that much, although I think, you know, that would be like more of a thing you would want to do if you're using mechanical hard drives, because certain types of sector sizes and stuff like that will actually help with seek times and things like that. However, I'm just going to leave it on a workstation there. Now we've got this thing here that says volume guard. Now with this activated, what this means is that you can't accidentally just go like, you know, dismantling or erasing the RAID. So if you have this selected and then you want to go and delete the RAID, there is another option that you've got to go to first in order to be able to switch off this here, which is really cool because it just means that you can't go accidentally wiping the RAID out with a complete deletion of the RAID. You can, however, obviously erase data from the RAID, but this function here will stop you from being able to basically wipe the RAID out. And then at the bottom here we've got the volume size, and as we can see this is set to 12 terabytes, and the reason why is because we're in RAID 5 we essentially lose a quarter of the total amount of data available, or the total amount of capacity. And because we're using 4 terabytes, which would be 16 terabytes in total, a quarter of that taken off leaves us with 12 terabytes. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is just tap on create, and then here it's going to give us an option for the stripe unit size. Now this has got 2 options, 16 kilobytes or 64 kilobytes. Well, if we have a read at this stuff here, what it's going to tell us is that 16 kilobytes doesn't matter for like Mac or Windows. However, if you want to select 64 kilobytes, that's going to tell us that we need to be above a certain version of SoftRAID in order to use it with Windows. However, if you do read through all this stuff here, what it's telling us is that the difference between 16 and 64 doesn't matter for Mac. So I'm just going to leave it on the 16. Just going to tap on OK here. It's going to ask for me password again. Then I'm just going to OK that, and then this is going to go off and it's going to create the RAID, and there you go, it's created the RAID really fast. Now if I just tap on the RAID there, as you can see it's indicating which of the drives on the left hand side are assigned to the RAID. Okay, so I'm onto the desktop for my MacBook Pro, and there it is, the RAID 5 set that I've just created. If I just do a get info on this, as we will see, the capacity is 12 terabytes and we've got available 12 terabytes, obviously because there's nothing being written to this particular RAID just yet. And then below it here, this is my Acasis 8 terabyte RAID 0, which comprises of 2 TB501 Pros, and each one of those has got a 4 terabyte Western Digital SN850X within inside of it. And inside of here I've got various test files and stuff, and I will use this as the target drive for testing the RAID 5 during the real world disk speed tests. But just before I do that, let's just do a quick synthetic test on the RAID 5. So let me just select the RAID 5 here using the amorphous disk mark disk speed test. And let me just do a test on this. So what I'm going to do right now is just to speed up through this, because this will take some time, and then what I will do is have a look at the results as soon as it's completed the test. So looking at the speed test results here for the amorphous tests, and it's these two top line read and write numbers here that I'm more interested in. So these are sequential read and writes, and these are going to be more appropriate for measuring things like the speed of, say, your picture files, audio files and video files being moved backwards and forwards to the RAID. And as we can see here, the read speed is 5,262 megabytes per second, and the write speed is 2,980 megabytes per second. Now usually what I'd be saying at this point is that when we get down to these bottom random numbers and stuff, these would be the types of things that would influence the speed of a boot drive, for instance. However, in this instance, what we have to remember is that we can't actually boot like natively into the Mac from this particular RAID, and the reason why is because Mac OS has to have already been booted into in order for the OWC drivers or extensions to have been launched to have read the RAID. So basically we couldn't use this RAID to boot from. However, that wouldn't stop us from using things like VMs and such from this RAID, but we most certainly can't boot into the host Mac from these particular types of RAIDs. But nonetheless, there are the results for the amorphous disk mark disk speed tests, and now I am just going to set up so I can do my real world disk speed tests. Okay, so as far as the real world disk speed tests are concerned, the drive on the right hand side here, this is the Acasis 8TB RAID 0, which I will use as the source drive, and then the drive on the left hand side here, that is the RAID 5. Now something important to understand here, this RAID 0 set here is way faster than the RAID 5 setup, which basically means that we can't bottleneck the data being transferred backwards and forwards to the RAID 5. However, because I've already got so much data on this RAID 0, I'm not entirely sure. We might actually exceed the SLC cache when we start doing the read speed test from the RAID 5. However, we will cross that bridge when we get to it. So as far as the folder that I'm going to test is concerned and its size, it's this one here, the 1TB test folder. So if I just do info on this, as we can see, there are 1 million megabytes of data in this test folder, or 1 terabyte, and that's 482 items, and those items are things like video, audio, picture files and stuff like that. Anyway, so what I'm going to do first is to move this folder over to the RAID 5, and then that will allow us to test for the write speed of the RAID 5. So let me just start doing that. So drop and start. Okay, so what we're doing here then is measuring the time, or basically timing the time it takes to see how long this data takes to move over, and then that will allow us to get our real world disk speed test. In fact, let me just see if I can get the progress bar up here. There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is speed up through this, and I will come back in at the end, and then we'll just get a note of the timing after the data has moved over. Actually, if you just keep an eye on these read and write speeds inside of Activity Monitor, usually this would give us a really good indication as to what the speeds are like at any one point in time. However, there is going to be a discrepancy here, and the reason why is because Activity Monitor is actually measuring the speed of all 4 of the SSDs which are inside of the RAID 5. However, a quarter of that data is actually parity data. So what we're going to see on Activity Monitor is that the write speed is actually higher than what it really is, and this is the reason why I'm going to do the real world disk speed test, because of course with it being real world and we get the proper measurement, that tells us the true write speed. But nonetheless, you can keep an eye on that and see what's going on during the transfer. Okay, so I'm just going to come back in here and get ready to hit pause. So if you just give us a moment, I'll hit this once it's done. There we go. Okay, so that's 4 minutes 27 seconds. Let me just make a note of that. Okay, so moving on to the read speed test for the RAID 5, and this is actually my second go, and the reason why is because of what I alluded to earlier on, which in fact did come to pass. As I was moving that 1TB data folder over to the RAID 0, the RAID 0 did indeed run out of SLC cache, so therefore the speed dropped part the way through the test. Now of course we're not here to measure like in any kind of particular SSDs per se, as in their SLC and TLC. What we want to do is see the highest performance of these things. So what I've now gone and done is to just get a 100GB folder, because the 100GB folder will definitely move over at full speed, which means that yes, we are kind of like measuring SLC I suppose at that point, but more importantly what we're going to be doing is to measure the full speed of the RAID 5 itself. Okay, and just before I do this, let me just show you here if I do get info. As we can see, 100,000 megabytes or 100 gigabytes, and there's 48 items in that folder. So let me just start doing this and I'll explain a few more things as it goes over. So drop and start. Okay, now just as we did with the write speed, we're going to see like some weird numbers inside of Activity Monitor, and I best be quick here before the test is over. But these numbers here are going to be different from one another, and the reason why is once again is because Activity Monitor, hold on, wait there, let me just hit pause here, wait a minute. Hold on, here we go. Let me just make a note of that. I'm going to call that 21 seconds, just give me a moment. Okay, yeah, what I was saying there is that Activity Monitor is actually measuring the full bandwidth of all the SSDs in use, but of course 25% of that bandwidth isn't actually being used to write real data per se. That is actually parity data being written. So whilst Activity Monitor isn't actually lying to us or anything, it isn't actually telling us the true speed during these tests, again because it can't differentiate as to what's parity data and what's actually like real data, as it were. So again, this is the reason why we do these particular tests, because it doesn't matter whether it's a striped RAID, whether it's like, you know, a RAID 5, or whether it's individual SSDs. If we time these things and then work out the actual bit rates, they are the real bit rates during the speed test, and not necessarily something that like a synthetic test is telling you, or something like Activity Monitor. Anyway, with all that said, let me give you the results for these real-world disk speed tests. Okay, so as far as the real-world disk speed tests are concerned, for the write speed, I actually did use the folder size of 1TB, which was a 1 million megabytes, and that took 4 minutes and 27 seconds, which is 267 seconds. So if we divide the 1 million by 267, we get 3,745, which is 3,745 megabytes per second. However, when it comes to the read speed, I had to use a folder size which was only 100,000 megabytes. So in that instance, it's 100,000 megabytes divided by the time taken, which was 21 seconds, which gives us a result of 4,761, which is 4,761 megabytes per second. Okay, so there we have it then, the answer to the question, can the Acasis TB504 work in RAID 5? And of course the answer is yes, but also on top of that, so can the TB504 Air. Now, just to be super clear about this, the RAID 5 functionality here doesn't come from the enclosures or the SSDs. It comes from the controlling software. So whilst some people out there might be thinking, well, hold on a minute, but why don't Acasis supply their own RAID software? Well, none of these manufacturers do. And in fact, if you were to buy an OWC enclosure, and at the moment, the closest one that they've got to the TB504 is, I believe, the Extreme 4 M2 Ultra. Now, even if you buy that from OWC, you don't get like SoftRAID for free. You still have to pay for it and subscribe to it and everything else like that. So in that sense, yes, the TB504 or any set of SSDs is just like any other set of SSDs or any other type of multi-bay enclosure, in that you can do a lot of things with them, but it's all down to the hardware and the software that control these things. But anyway, as we've seen in this video, yes, undoubtedly the Acasis TB504 can indeed work in RAID 5 as long as you've got the software to do that with it. Now, there will be links in the video description below taking you to the Acasis website where you can buy these enclosures, and there will also be a 15% discount for anybody who's interested. I'm David Harry. Thank you very much for watching this video. Take care and goodbye now.